Hello, it's Emma here again with your Sacred Monday Ministry. I am an acupuncturist, herbalist, mother of two, and I would like this week to talk about medicine and healing. So, before we dive in, let's get on the same page for a minute. Let's imagine that there is a God, whether you imagine that God to be sort of the whatever picture of God you have, there is a unifying force around us, above us, within us, who loves us, and we connect with whenever we open our hearts and stand in love, stand in trust, truth, forgiveness. So there is a God. There are forces beneath that oneness force, such as spirit guides, ancestors. With acupuncture, some might say each acupuncture point has a spirit of the point, a patron saint of the point that helps enact the functions and abilities of that acupuncture point. So there are people on the other side, maybe people we can't see or speak to, that help us in our healing. So, number 3, when we relax our bodies and our minds, when we allow ourselves to enter that state of just being and not doing, we can receive healing, whether you believe that is through God, or maybe we receive messages, we receive signs in our day-to-day life. But the more we are relaxed, the more we move through life from a peaceful state, the more we can receive messages from those ancestors, those light beings around us that are here to help us move our souls towards what it needs to heal. So let's just accept those 3 things as fact for a minute while we move through talking about medicine and healing in general. And I'd like to start with a quote by Hippocrates. He said, "Let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food." When I hear that, I really like that quote. You think of food as something to enjoy, something to feed us, but he is saying let food be thy medicine. So it is beneficial to practice temperance of eating, to use a diet that is not just for the senses, for the tastes, for the satisfaction of eating, but one that is more bland, maybe a vegetarian diet, one that is not just to stimulate the senses, but to be nourishment, something we know is good for us. Let food be thy medicine. And second part, let medicine be thy food. And to me, like, what is your medicine? Medicine could be so many different things. It could be acupuncture, it could be herbs, it could be yoga, Reiki, counseling, could be going outside in nature, could be creative endeavors, painting, singing, dancing. So what is it that is your medicine? What is it that you are going to feed your soul, to be healed, to extract more wellness and more enjoyment from life? So I think food should be maybe the more bland thing, and medicine should be that thing we enjoy, that thing that brings us the greater sense of enjoyment. So with that, let's take a minute to think, is your medicine allowing room for rebirth? We just had Easter, so on this topic of rebirth, I want to do this carefully without sounding like I'm shunning or talking negatively about Western medicine, because absolutely Western medicine has its place and has its gifts. But for me, I do see a lot of patients who maybe they buy into the drugs, the pharmaceuticals, and that's fine. But if that is your medicine, is your medicine allowing room for rebirth? With acupuncture, with some of these more Eastern methods of healing, there's a knowing that we are already whole. We are a whole system in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. Sorry about that. Take 2 steps back. I would love to see people be placing more trust in themselves and seeking their own medicine rather than what I see a lot of the Western medical science having to offer, which is either drugs, surgeries, antibiotics, steroids. Those have their place, but I don't personally fit them into my let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. A lot of these more Eastern traditions of healing, they see the body and the soul as already whole. So if something has gone amiss, it's just a matter of balancing, bringing that person back towards the oneness, balancing whatever it is that's distracting them or keeping them from the oneness. So in yoga, the solution is to get on the mat, to find your oneness with the breath, the body, and the mind. Bring those all into a state of unification. With acupuncture, we are looking at the 5 elements, or looking at yin and yang, and looking at the constellation of symptoms that someone enters the room with. So somebody says, oh, I can't sleep, I have dizziness, I have high blood pressure, hot sweats. So looking at that constellation of symptoms, which of the 5 elements is maybe overexerting itself, which of the 5 elements is maybe deficient, and how can we balance everything? And when we push the body toward, or gently invite the body towards a sense of balance, these symptoms just naturally go away. When a patient is on the table and they allow that to happen, whether it's acupuncture, whether it's Reiki, whether it's in meditation or yoga, but whenever a person allows healing to occur by quieting themselves and paying attention to their bodies, paying attention to what's going on in the here and now, allowing maybe the ancestors and the angels and the spirit guides to gently push things, rearrange things within, then the patient can come out of the room and your sense of rebirth. Really, we're being reborn each and every day, each and every moment. We are making choices that slowly or even suddenly open us to another version of ourselves, open us to, you might say, an entirely new dimension, a world we didn't even think could be possible. Things that maybe we didn't even think could miraculously heal. So, my question is your medicine allowing for rebirth? Is it, hey, you have this constellation of symptoms, that means you have any number of names of diseases that Western medicine recognizes. To me, that's not doing anything to explain why your body is doing what it's doing. That is just giving your constellation of symptoms a name. And if you accept, oh, I have Hashimoto's, I have Raynaud's, I have fibromyalgia, I have lupus, then you take the medicine, then you maybe do a couple of things that they suggest to manage the symptoms. But is that paradigm, is that viewpoint, that way of looking at health and healing, is that recognizing you as a whole soul, as a whole being? Is it allowing room for rebirth, for change to occur? Or is it just saying, you have this, you need to be on this medication for the rest of your life or for the duration of the symptoms, and then not doing anything to change the underlying cause or support you as a whole soul? Just gonna leave that there. If I could have a wish for you, for the world, for more of my patients, it would be that you recognize your divinity. You recognize that you are a fragment of God. You are a looking glass of God. You have everything you need to heal in this moment. If you allow it to occur, if you accept the possibility that the self you once knew could die and be reborn into somebody without those symptoms anymore, some version of yourself in greater wellness. And of course, healing is not a linear path, it's an up and down, but another important lesson, this is going to be number 4, tenet number 4 of us getting on the same page today. That is, symptoms are our teacher. Every stimulus that pains us, now this could be symptoms within, like my pain, my insomnia, my night sweats. They're all our teacher. They're trying to show us what can we do to change our inner landscape to be closer to God, to be more in wholeness. What are we doing that is pushing us towards insomnia? Usually there's something in our state of mind or something in our emotional state or some sort of burden we are holding, memory from the past, that if we would allow to transform, if we would instead move to that place of wholeness, we could learn how to be a better version of ourselves. And to me, my paradigm is thinking about that a lot of the time with the 5 elements, which is why I talk about it so often on this channel. But we'll come back to that. The more we choose to listen to what's going on within us and choose to accept that our symptoms are our teacher, the less we choose distractions and choose things that conceal the symptom, whether that's, I'm just going to speak from my experience, whether that's, I'm sad, I'm going to watch TV. That's a big one for me. Or I'm sad, I'm going to smoke weed. The less we take that path and the more we be present and listen to what's going on within, the less loud our symptoms have to be to get our attention for what it is we need to change, for what it is would bring us closer to wholeness. So that brings me to, sometimes I think, oh, I'm on this channel talking about my experience and preaching about meditation, preaching about, oh, if you just open your heart, everything will be lovely. So what about the bigger illnesses that people endure, the cancer, the whatever comes to your mind? I mean, lifelong illnesses that people never heal from, degenerative diseases, the really big problematic experiences, like the why do good things happen to bad people, like that kind of train of thought. Does what I have to say apply to them? Can I speak to that experience as well, or am I just speaking from a privileged viewpoint, not having some of those bigger illnesses? And to me, the truth in that is the truth of reincarnation. We are all souls that this is not our first and last life, I believe. And say we chose in this life, we agreed, we made a soul contract to come here and be paralyzed, to come here and never be able to move or speak, or something so horrible. I believe that even from that experience, we can find a state of wholeness, we can relate to God, we can find healing, and we can learn lessons. And I'm sure some of what I have to say could benefit people in that point of view as well. More of my experience, to be honest, has not been with people in such drastic situations. But speaking to what I have worked with, I believe that if you do pay attention to your symptoms and you do recognize that they are your teacher and you do partner with them and trying to figure out what they're trying to tell you, the more you do that, the smaller your symptoms have to be to get your attention. So you can go from a life or an experience of what feels like the world is totally against you, what feels like every day is so hard, every day is a fight, maybe feeling like your own worst enemy. And you can slowly move out of that experience toward that state of wholeness. Or you can, even in the midst of those hard times, honestly, those are the times where you have the most to gain. You have the most to learn and to experience in the sense of relief from finding that connection to God. Think think of all the born agains who are just going through such a hard time with addiction, with being their own worst enemy, and how that is just the perfect little ecosystem of an experience for finding that connection with God and Christ. It happens a lot. And I just, in my own experience, when you're really scared, when you're really suffering, is when you have the most to learn about who you are and what's important to you, and how you're not actually that far from God and from healing and from the life you want. So, that about covers what I wanted to say today. Let's end with a little prayer and with a little reading from another Upanishad text. So, this is from the Katha Upanishad. When all the knots of the heart are severed here on earth, then a mortal becomes immortal. That is the complete teaching. 101 are the channels of the heart. Of these, one extends to the crown of the head, rising upward by that one reaches immortality. The rest, at the time of departing, lead in other directions. The size of a thumb is the inner self, ever seated deep in the hearts of men. Him one should draw out from one's body with steadiness. Him one should know as the pure, the immortal. Yes, one should know him as the pure and the immortal. Thank you, Divine Mother, for all of our blessings. Please fill our hearts with contentment, love, forgiveness for ourselves and others. Please lead us towards greater satisfaction and new ways to be of service to others and to you. Thank you for all of our blessings. May we in each day make more choices to be closer to you. May we release ourselves from all of the bindings of our thoughts and our patterns that distract us from your love and light. May you fill our hearts with joy, simplicity, and may we lead ourselves away from desires. Thank you. Namaste.